Ariel, The Devil Wears Prada 2 is in theaters. So let's read the book. Hit it. Woo! Exercising my free will and wearing Christmas pajamas in May. Now that that's been addressed and out of the way, we can talk about the fact that I am reading The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisberger. Initially, I really wanted to read this weekend and kind of, I have my final due tomorrow and I was hoping that I would be able to finish this and then when I finish my final, go to the movies and celebrate by watching this. However, I haven't made any progress on my final at all, and now I have to write all 15 pages of it tomorrow. So I don't know that we're gonna make it, but we're gonna try really hard. Tomorrow I think I'll spend my whole day between reading this book and writing that paper, and maybe that will not lend towards finishing the paper quickly, but we're gonna try. What is this book about, you may ask? Let's consult Libby. Hey, the Devil's Bible, the Devil in the White City, the Devil Wears Scrubs. Oh, there's a Frida McFadden book called The Devil Wears Scrubs. Newly minted Dr. Jane McGill is in hell. Not literally, of course, but between her drug addict patients, sleepless nights on call, and battling wits with the sadistic yet charming sexy surgeon, Jane can't imagine an afterlife much worse than her first month of medical internship. And then there's the devil herself, Jane's senior resident, Dr. Alyssa Morgan. I feel like this is giving, it's a play on The Devil Wears Prada, but in a hospital. That's an interesting choice that I will probably never read, but maybe I will, who knows. Okay, let's talk about the book we're actually reading. Essentially, this girl, Andrea, I think Sachs, she's like a small town girl. She's fresh out of college and she lands the job that a million girls would die for. And it's quinky dink because she's just trying to get her foot in the door in writing and publishing, but she ends up getting a job at a fashion magazine as the assistant to Miranda Priestley, who is just a super high profile, like fabulous, successful editor at Runway magazine. However, Miranda Priestley is the literal scariest ever and everyone's terrified of her and she's literally the boss from hell. And that's why she's the devil, but she wears Prada. Am I winning the award yet for the worst book description ever? Basically, Andrea is navigating all these like super crazy requests from her boss, and it says here that Andrea begins to realize that the job a million girls would die for may just kill her. And even if she survives, she has to decide whether or not the job is worth the price of her soul. So she kind of sticks around with this job because she thinks that, or she's been told that Miranda has so much pull that if she lasts a year with her, she could get a job anywhere. So she's kind of just trying to make it through her year, but things are getting serious. Currently, I'm at 2 chapters into this book. I don't want to say the pages because I realized that my Kindle pages don't make sense with the pages when I put the book into my Storygraph account, and I think that's because for some reason the formatting is off on my Kindle. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like all these like big spaces everywhere, and so my book is like 564 pages, but the digital edition is supposed to be 400 and something pages. So anyways, that being said, I'm on chapter 3. We kind of jumped into the book like in the thick of things with Miranda Priestley, where like things are just going super bad for Andrea. Everything's falling apart. She broke her shoes. Like her outfit's a mess and everything. And then in the second chapter, we kind of take a step back from like the climax of everything, and we get a little glimpse into Andrea being straight out of college and interviewing for this job. And I have to say that thus far, it's hilarious. Like, I have laughed out loud twice already in chapter 2, and it's literally the fact that we are getting kind of like the inner monologue of Andrea and her thoughts as just like a normal girl who goes into like this really high fashion place. I don't think she herself means to be funny or like is like a funny person, but just how outlandish her thoughts are on these high fashion women are, and how she sees herself as like inadequate and unprepared is just kind of funny. And we already have gotten the iconic line, "A million girls would die for this job." And it's funny because she's told it and she just keeps referencing that line. Like, it's just like, well, this is crazy. Everyone here looks like they're starving, but a million girls will die for this job. And it's kind of how she is talking herself into going for it and continuing through the interview and through like the progressive like weird and craziness of and how absurd this interview process is. So anyways, I also love that she gives Miranda Priestley like a little bit of an attitude, and I'm hoping Miranda has met her match. Let's get into this bad boy. Suddenly I see this is what I wanna be. You must be thinking, wow, she's finally dressed seasonally appropriate in a spring dress. And you would be wrong, because I was cold and I threw on my Christmas pajama pants underneath my dress. Yeah. Feels good to do whatever you want. Also, just to confuse you even more, I did heat up my tea because I'm sick in a fall mug. And every time I drink out of it, I go blind. So that's fun. I'm 98 pages into the book. Yeah. I know, I'm back and forth about this book so far. So we'll see what my final thoughts are. All right, we are about 93 pages in, according to my Kindle. 98 pages in. I just totally forgot I was filming and started texting. We're doing great. Oh, I guess I can say that I'm at 17% of the book, and that gives us some idea of where I'm at. But I'm not gonna say I'm bored per se, but it's lost a little bit of its kick because essentially Andrea has started working. She's getting acclimated to the work environment, but Miranda Priestley isn't there yet. So she takes like a 1-month sabbatical every year for the holidays, which isn't really a sabbatical because she's still working the entire time. It's just that people have to be by their phone so they can be available 24/7 in case she calls and wants something. And she seems to work just like not from the office. So my girl invented hybrid is basically what she's saying. Anyways, all of that is to say that I think in the movie this doesn't happen. Like, she comes into work and Miranda's always there, which I think was a good choice in terms of like cinematic decisions, because this is a little bit like, I don't know, maybe if I had never heard of this book and watched the movie before, I would be a little bit more intrigued by this right now. I also can't stop thinking about the fact, because we've been introduced to the boyfriend Alex right now, and somebody online had made a comment about how every single person in the book is a villain at some point. And Alex, like, he starts off like such a good, loving, supportive boyfriend. Even we see how he kind of wants to discourage her from the job, but then he kind of changes his mind. He's like, no, I'm gonna be supportive. Like, if this is gonna get you to your ultimate dreams, like, let's go for it, and things like that. So you can already see how she just blew him off for the first time. So you can already see like his villain origin story starting, because like, actually girl, if he becomes a villain and this is how you're treating him, like, I understand why. Sure. We're already getting there. Miranda and everyone at the office is already a villain, and they're slowly turning Andrea into a villain whose careless actions eventually lead Alex to becoming a villain as well. Wow. What a crazy downward spiral. What up, party people? Happy Taco Tuesday! It also happens to be Cinco de Mayo. So that's a fun and exciting combo. Y'all, let's talk about how delulu I am, okay? I have no sense of time. And I'm not talking about my seasonal confusion for the past few days. I've been reading The Devil Wears Prada. Obviously, that's literally why you're here. Anyways, I was reaching the 50-ish% mark, 48% of this book right now. And I'm like, wow, I think I'm gonna have to cancel this vlog. It's taking me way too long to read this book. Like, in my brain, it's been a week and I only read half this book. It's been 2 days. I have no sense of time at all. It's only Tuesday. Life is dandy. It's gonna be fine. Let's talk about it though. Okay, there's a couple of things. I will say that the book does have me really pensive about certain topics. One in particular that came up while I was reading on my way home today is body dysmorphia. A lot of the women in this book have body dysmorphia, and the main character, Andy, talks a lot about how she has come to realize that these super ultra skinny models, thin women, all are able to say and acknowledge like, oh, Andy actually is of a normal size and weight, and they just find themselves to be fat even though they are extremely slim in Andy's eyes. And so there's a lot of conversation in here just surrounding how being in these environments can actually alter your own perception. So she kind of starts to discuss how even though she knows it is irrational to think that she is overweight because she's not, just being surrounded by so many people who are constantly speaking that narrative out has really started to kind of affect her own perception of herself. And so while her mind is kind of telling her like, no, I'm not overweight, in another way, like, she still is kind of having these slight insecurities and like questioning herself just because she has been in the environment for so long where other people have an unhealthy perception of their own bodies, and it's now starting to project onto her. And that really goes to show the power of like just your environment and what you hear, and how psychologically damaging it can be, honestly, to hear the same thing repetitively over and over again. And so that has me really reflective right now, especially just thinking on some current events that have happened at my job, and how the narrative and the culture of the workplace have really contributed to the situation. It is a really not fun, very, very sad one. So I don't know. I'm really pensive. Other than that, I don't want to say that I'm bored. There are some moments where she really starts like listing types of purses and types of bags and types of clothing, and I find myself wanting to really skim those paragraphs. Like sometimes it'll be like a full entire page on my Kindle full of descriptions of clothing items in this place. And the other thing is too that I've noticed there's not really any type of like plot line to this book. We are now starting to get, if you've watched the movie, to the point where Emily's bringing up her version of excitement over going in Paris. And from the perspective of someone who hasn't watched the movie, this would kind of seem like maybe another insignificant event in the lives of these women. So the only reason that I actually know that this is like something significant is because I have watched the movie and I know that something happens with Paris. Granted, I don't know if it's going to happen the same way here in this book, but it just doesn't call for a lot of like excitement. We're really just kind of going through, I don't want to say mundane, because obviously they're very stressful days in Andy's life, and we just constantly are getting her complaints about how sucky the job is. We're getting lots of examples of her being tired, not getting any sleep, not having another life, not really being able to hang out with her friends. Alex is really like, we barely hear from her boyfriend Alex, and then when we do, it's really her being like, oh, I haven't seen him in over a week and I feel guilty, and then I had to leave early. And so I think that in a very slow way, we are starting to get just like the very, very slow downward descent of Andy's life. And again, I feel that having watched the movie is giving me this perspective. But if I hadn't, I think I would be maybe a little bit not entertained right now, because I wouldn't know that we're building up to some other things. So yeah. Happy Saturday. Officially a week of this vlog, and I've not read anything in quite a few days. I'm actually getting ready for my cousin's birthday party, and he's definitely going to unalive me with a capital K, because I'm late. I'm late for very important. Yeah, I'm like half an hour late, and I'm not even rushing. I should rush. I'm losing interest. Like, I'm losing steam a little bit. I will say there is this like tension between the Christian character and a little crush situation going on, and I felt so icky about the whole thing, and I hope nothing happens. But besides that, Lily's character, the best friend, I kind of can't stand her a little bit. She's a little icky. I think in general, all of the like friends, the partners and everything, all her people that existed before her getting this job are pretty upsetting to me, because they're just like not understanding of the lack of work-life balance. I can understand being annoyed about it, but they all seem on the brink of just like unfriending her every single day, and it's kind of infuriating. Like, have some sympathy for the girl, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's just me. But Lily in particular, she's just kind of a bad influence. Like, she's not a very good friend. She encourages her to essentially be unfaithful in certain ways to her partner, or like says that certain things are not unfaithful, and they are. So that's not good. And she also is herself not faithful, and then like sleeping around, drinking around. My girl's going through some things. It's clear that she's going through something right now. I don't know what, but hopefully she recovers, because wow. I'm almost at the 400 page mark. I have 30% of this book left, and I have an hour and a half train ride tonight. So I think I can finish this book tonight. What do y'all think? We're gonna try. Okay, I am taking y'all on the road with me. We are page 393. So let's see how much we can read on this commute. All right, just got off the bus. I am only at page 407, so didn't get much accomplished in a 30-minute ride. But the good news is this is a 3-legged journey. Now I have to take 2 trains, so it's time to lock in. Also, I kind of feel bad for Lily now. I feel like I shouldn't have talked all that nonsense about her, because obviously something is very wrong with her. So I did make it to like 3 at page 468, so like 100 pages left in the book. 97 pages left in the book, but unfortunately I chickened out on my way back because I'm so tired. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I took a cab, so I guess we'll finish tomorrow. What's a girl to do? Y'all, we've reached the climax. Things are getting bad. And that feeling of like impending doom, because I know what's about to go down. And I'm dreading it. I'm dreading it. Andy, your life is over. That's all I gotta say, girl. I'm so sorry. And we only have 50 pages. Wasn't planning on reading the second book, but if things go down, might have to. Finito. Yeah. I have very mixed feelings about this book. There were many, many times where I felt we had literally a whole entire paragraph, sometimes even a whole page, just listing like, oh, the Chanel purse, the Gucci bag, the newest Prada headband, and the Hermes scarf, and like it's literally a whole list of stuff, and I'm like, I get it. There's a lot of stuff. I can't picture any of these things. Maybe it's because I don't have an interest in fashion. Honestly though, I don't even really think that they were very like specific about the exact name of the item and stuff. It was just listing stuff. So even if I did know about fashion, I don't know that I would be able to like exactly picture what she's talking about. So yeah, that was a little bit like annoying. There were also a lot of things that I feel were a little anticlimactic, that I definitely understand why they changed in the movie. It definitely gave it a little bit more like depth, a little bit more oomph. The main points of the book, I think, that really got to me was the storyline around Andy and her friend. I think we were left a little bit with some unanswered questions. We didn't really get an answer as to why some of those things were happening, which is fine, I guess. Maybe sometimes you don't really get these answers. But overall, I found the book to be a little underwhelming. That's the tea. Granted, if I had read this and I hadn't watched the movie, and I wasn't anticipating some of like the more dramatic elements, maybe I would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but probably not, because Like I mentioned, some scenes just dragged and dragged and dragged and dragged with the lists and stuff. So I also, having Miranda be out for a month before Andy even meets her when she's working, that was a choice. But I will say that there were a lot of topics that really made you think in this book. It had a lot more depth than just being about a horrible boss and fashion. It does talk a lot about maintaining friendships, work-life balance, eating disorders, what your mind can do when you're in toxic environments, mental health, things like that. So 3.25 stars, y'all. Thank you for sticking around. If you made it this far, you know what the emoji is going to be. Those red heels. Make sure you hit that like button. If you want to join the family, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I will see you all when I see you next. Bye!